what about the challenges that come along with it? So, with the new normal working environment, these work options are now more likely to become reality as the industry responds to the COVID-19 crisis and new ways of working life. So, at this webinar, we will delve into deeper conversation with the women professionals in the energy industry, listen to their stories in coping up with the new working challenges and the untold struggles behind the screens. Does the COVID-19 impact diversity and inclusion practices? And what are the organization strategies to put D&I at the forefront of their business strategies? So I guess let me just quickly introduce our speakers today. We have Melissa Mustafa, environment engineer from Shell. The next one we have Nurul Huda Abdul Karim, production manager from Petronas, and Goh Chun Ki, reservoir engineering manager from Repsol. I guess without further ado, I would like to invite Datuk Zunaida Idris from Malaysian Women in Energy for opening and welcoming remarks.
Good morning and Assalamualaikum to everyone. I'd like to welcome each and everyone who is here today this morning. Before I start, I'd just like to say you're welcome and thank you to our chairman of MyWiE, Encik Zaid, and all the council members of the MGA and also the secretariat of the MyWiE and also MGA secretariat. And good morning once again, Mr. Suresh Vasudevan, Vice President of Business Development of Hibiscus Petroleum, Mr. Goh Chun Ki, Reservoir Engineering Manager from Repsol, Melissa Mustafa, Environmental Engineers of Shell, Nurul Huda Abdul Karim, Production Manager from Petronas, and Mr. Chong Yen Lee from one of our council members. And of course, thank you, Nabila, for today. On behalf of Malaysian Women in Energy, or we normally call it MyWiE, is my great pleasure actually to welcome each and every one of you to MyWiE webinar with the title on Women Professional in Energy Industry Coping with the Pandemic and its Challenges. Thank you for joining our event today. With the registration of members that participate today, we can see the enthusiasm and the energy that we have for this webinar from all the leaders, and also the organization to lead their organization to discuss about the challenges and area of improvement for the best D&I practices. And how do you juggle between work-life balance in this COVID-19 pandemic? For the last 2 years, we have seen companies and employees have been working together, working innovatively, creatively, working hard to the new norm in managing their challenges. MyWiE webinar today is very timely for us actually to engage in a deeper conversation to hear some of the untold stories of how women have to work harder in this era. In the energy industry, where they have to cope changing working environment and the time of this COVID-19, they need to have a balance between their life, their responsibilities at home, and also to cope their corporate and professional woman life, especially as a leader of the industry. This truly shows the industry commitment to ensure the D&I is an important agenda, and we need the transition to the new era of work throughout each stage of the COVID crisis and beyond. MGA advocating diversity and inclusion agenda. MGA in 2017 organized the first forum on women in energy, what we call 4WE, and was the first clear step in MGA journeys toward promoting gender diversity. I remember actually Encik Hazli Shankasim, he was our president MGA. He said, it's an embarrassment to MGA. At that time, none of the council members are women and no woman being represented at the MGA council. But I like to share with you, I had the opportunity with my background actually from investment bank. I was from Hong Leong before. So I was given an opportunity actually to be one of the 2 council members to be appointed at the council members election during 2019 with our Miss Sia Su Ying. And I also like to share with you at that time, Su Ying, I call her Su Ying, is the first vice president of a woman in MGA council members. So congratulations to MGA and also MyWiE. So I like to continue with the enthusiasm of the gender diversity shown by the participants of 4WE 2017 and the energy community gave birth to MyWiE and eventually brought MyWiE where it is today in the journey of DNI. So when we talk about women gender diversity or when we talk about women empowerment, I like to share with you recently myself, Datuk Hafsa, and also Datuk Azima, we have started a new foundation that we call we name it Women Leadership Foundation. We founded it just got registered this year. During the pandemic, actually, we worked very hard, despite the fact most of people are working at home and understanding, when you have to work with the government, it was very challenging during the pandemic. But eventually, we managed, and our true north at the Women Leadership Foundation is to harness women talent and generate more women leaders at the decision making at all levels, from public listed company, non-public listed company, across the industry, from oil and gas, property, healthcare, communication, all across. And we are looking at women empowerment and women leaders to be created at the decision making. I would like to be delighted to connect Women Leadership Foundation with MyWiE and any other entity that have a common ground in advocating and promoting the DNI agenda in the industry. I look forward to any future collaboration that will benefit both organizations. However, the pandemic has changed women's working world and the importance behind it. During the pre-COVID time, working women have taken on the larger responsibility at home. When COVID-19 hits the world, working mothers take a greater share of tasks, including their work, as well as facilitating learning for children and owning household responsibilities. So my advice to all the male, please do help your wife at home. It's a shared responsibilities. According to the Washington Post article on 29 July 2020, the title Coronavirus Childcare Crisis Will Set Women Back a Generation. It pointed out that 1 out of 4 women reported leaving their jobs during the pandemic to fulfill their responsibilities at home. So this report shows that women do carry bigger responsibilities when many of us react to the ever-shifting working environment. So from various studies that have been conducted around the world, it shows that D&I in the workplace and every organization, every industry remains the challenges, the constraints, and the barriers as far as women in the corporate world, especially in the professional lines. These follow with a recent published roadmap in August 2021, a jointly research produced by Talent Corp Malaysia, Berhad, and United Nations Development Programme, supported by the Ministry of Human Resources. Malaysia, for how many companies take the lead in preparing their workforce for the future work that is accessible and sustainable for all genders. Beyond these challenges, organization can make a positive impact. It is an important sign that new initiatives need to be implemented in the workplace. That is to prudent, to adopt, and to provide flexible support for women employees due to the new challenges. The world has evolved to what seems to be a different world today. One important demand is to ensure equal opportunity for all genders and highlighted the wider efforts that need to be done by the organization, especially in the effort in gender diversity and inclusivity. MyWiE recently organized a closed-door CEO roundtable discussion with Nine Energy, and MyWiE have received a report on strategy and best practices for attracting, developing, and retaining women in the energy sector. And that was released in December 2018. It is overwhelming and very encouraging to hear companies in energy sector have proactively made structural changes, improvement, and pushing the D&I agenda at the forefront of their business. Actually, we had a report that shows, a statistic among all the industry, across industry, the energy sector, and also especially in the oil and gas, that is where we are lacking of women in decision making, not only at board level, but also at the middle and at the middle management. But somehow or rather, I like to congratulate Petronas. I understand we have seen some changes. There are more women actually to be placed at more decision making in the organization. So all these companies have responded very proactively in managing the pandemic and the changes, and a lot of new policies has responded, providing more flexibility in remote working arrangement and proactively initiated at workplace. While flexible hours arrangement have long been discussed and as a means of retaining women in the workplace, and yet to be seen, the implementation have to kickstart. We hope with MyWiE efforts in organizing the D&I sharing session today that they encourage more companies in the energy industry to work to adopt a better diversity and inclusion best practice in the future. I'm looking forward to hear great sharing and diverse speakers to share their experience, their knowledge in this session. In conclusion, before I close, I would like to once again thank you, the chairman of MyWiE, Encik Zaid, and all the speakers, MyWiE advisory panel, and also MGA council members and all the audience of today. My appreciation and congratulations to the leaders from MyWiE workstream for their dedication in organizing this webinar. And not forgetting the MGA Secretariat, especially Encik Rosman and his team, who have been working tirelessly, putting their time and commitment as Secretariat to MyWiE. Thank you to our moderator of today, Mr. Suresh Vasudevan, and all the invited speakers for joining us today. I hope we will again, take advantage of this webinar, and I have a great depth that will enable MyWiE to foster and push the D&I agenda forward. On that note, I wish you all a fruitful discussion, meaningful engagement, and throughout this webinar. And please do have an active, interactive discussion. Thank you and have a good day.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Jun. I think it's great to see so much improvement and so much progress that we have been doing, in especially empowering women throughout in Malaysia especially. All right. Anyway, congratulations on your new foundation. We are already excited for the collaboration. Okay. Up next is our main agenda for today. That will be led by our moderator, Mr. Suraj from Hibiscus Petroleum Berhad. Suraj, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Bella. All right, so this is the mugshot of everyone who's going to be involved today. I guess Dr. Jun kind of summarized the entire webinar, but I'm going to go ahead anyway. So, as you can see here, today the topic. Let me just recap on the topic. It's behind the screens, not behind the scenes. Behind the screens, women professionals in energy industry coping with the pandemic and its challenges. Okay, so I guess me and Chunki, we are outnumbered here today. Chunki, we are counting on you to defend the guys. There's going to be some guy bashing here, I'm not sure. But we're counting on you. Yeah. All right. So as you guys know, our panelists today consists of Mr. Goh Chun Ki from Repsol. He's the reservoir engineering manager there. Okay, thanks for taking that off. And then we have Melissa Mustafa from Shell. She's an environmental engineer with Shell. And then we have Nurul Huda Abdul Karim, who is a production manager from Petronas. So I'll be talking to these three people. They'll be raring to go to share their experiences. All right. So what I'll do is I'll keep Chunki to the end for all the questions so that you can hear what they have said about us guys and you can defend us. All right. And to Dr. June's point, I always help my wife at home, but please don't ask her to verify that statement. Okay, so let's get cracking. Huh? First, I will start with Melissa. All right. So let me ask you, Melissa. Okay. So before we get into the questions, perhaps maybe you can just tell us briefly about yourself. Just a very short introduction about yourself.
Sure, sure. So, Assalamualaikum. Very good morning to I think our fellow speakers here, Suresh, and the rest, which is in the call. I think first of all, thank you for the opportunity to actually share some of my personal experience coping out with the pandemic. So I'm currently an environmental engineer with a Shell operating gas to liquid plant, which is situated in Bintulu, Sarawak. So I'm a Kuala Lumpur girl, but I have spent 11 years of my time so raising my kids, building my own family back in Bintulu. Have been working, I would say, within the space of safety, technical safety, and then currently in environment as my professional journey with Shell. So have experience to actually be an individual performance and also lead a team. So that what actually some changes that I actually go throughout the pandemic as well. The way you've been working actually as an individual performer, or if you are leading a team, so of course there's some changes. So it goes, I would say, concurrently with the pandemic as well. So that's quite an interesting, I would say, my own interesting journey to cope with the pandemic. um I'm married. So my husband is actually a project engineer, work with one of a service provider for oil and gas. So as a project engineer, I would say I call him a chip small actually. So he is not always there. I would say once I would can actually count. Maybe in 1 year, like one solid month, he's actually with me and the kids. But the rest of the year, he's actually somewhere else. So yeah, that's my chip small husband. And I have two little princess. So I have just give birth for a 8 months old baby last January. So that's another change during the pandemic. So my first one is actually 4 years old. Um, so with all these changes, I would say that and pandemic come into the pictures is really testing, you personally, how you actually adapt to changes, how you actually really internalize the word that you we keep hearing people saying about it's okay not to be okay. So sometimes it's easy said than actually done. So but for me it's like it's really like the statement itself became like very meaningful, and you really go through the journey to like tell people I'm not okay, this cannot be done this way. There need to be a bit of flexibility. So of course, you yourself have to go through like initially with some uncomfortability to actually go through it. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's really about how to make things work personally and also how to make things work professionally. So hopefully I will be able to share more later on. Yeah, that's about me.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much for that sharing. I think while you were talking about the chip small husbands, people have been, chatting that apparently you're not alone. So Chunki, please take note about this chip small business. All right, Nurul, I turn to you now for a short introduction.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Assalamualaikum. I'm Nur Huda bin Tabit Karim from Petronas. Thank you for the organizing committee for having me here today. Okay. It's been an honor to me. So to start with, I graduated actually as a mechanical engineering. Okay. I studied that. I graduated in 2005. Yeah. And straight away jumped into the industry in 2006. So more or less, I've been in the industry for slightly over 15 years lah. Okay, I started off as a operation engineer. Okay, and my first posting same like Melissa in Sarawak, but I also posted in Miri lah because with Petronas Syarigali, so I'm in upstream environment lah. So in upstream environment, being operation engineer, offshore is a must. Okay, so my earlier journey in my career is always been at offshore. Okay, so I spent quite a number of years there. In Miri is actually total up to 10 years. Okay, doing some operation and maintenance stuff. And also project actually. And I moved back to KL. Oh, actually, I origin from Selangor. Okay, not as a rocket. Okay, so I moved back to KL in 2016. Okay, after 10 years, I spent in Sarawak and started off with commercial. So there is some coping there. I spent 2 years over in commercial doing some PAC arrangement and whatnot. Okay, before I came back to the technical line back as a production manager. So that's about my career. And about my personal, I have two kids. The eldest one is currently 8 years old, and the second one is 5 years old. Okay. Actually, I got my first child when I was back in Miri. The second child was in Miri as well lah. Okay. But then when I have the first child, I have a maid. Okay. With me. But then, not more than 1 year over, she ran away, okay, and left me. Well, I was pregnant with the second one. Okay, so I was left in my condition, pregnant, with no assistance away from my family there. So that is one of the factor that make me request for a transfer lah. Lucky enough, my organization has been supportive enough to support the transfer. Hence, it was the move to commercial lah in KL. Okay. Um, Enough about my personal. Coming back to the topic lah about coping with the pandemic. So not only pandemic lah, during the normal life pun we have to cope, right? What else to say the pandemic? So for me, when we are saying about coping, is about dia punya resilient to the changes. So the adaptability to is very important. Being adaptive to the environment, okay, while we learn throughout the process and allow ourselves to fail in the beginning, but learn first how to cope with it lah. So that is my take on the coping with the pandemic lah. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Nurul. I think you mentioned a very important word there, adaptability. Can't overemphasize that. This pandemic has really tested all of us in terms of how adaptable we can be. When things change unexpectedly. So I'm sure we'll be hearing a little bit more about that as we get to the questions. Chunki, just a brief introduction of yourself, please.
Hi, thanks, Suresh. My name is Chunki. I'm the Reservoir Engineering Manager from Repsol. Hi, so this year is my 15 years in oil and gas. So thanks for inviting me to this session this morning. Talking about this topic about women's. Actually, I'm working in this department, reservoir engineering department, whereby I have a 50% or slightly more than 50% of females engineers working in the team. But traditionally, this division has always been dominated by the male colleagues. But through the times, I think now the women are actually quite capable, or they dare to speak up. So things are changing.
Careful what you say there.
Yeah. Right. So yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. So a bit about my personal life. Actually, in my house, I have a wife. I'm married, so I have two kids, two daughters. So definitely, I don't have the enough vote in my house as well. I only have 20%, 25% of the votes in my house. So I'm again a minority. But yeah, actually, the pandemic actually really hit us quite badly, to be honest. Especially last year, I assume in the beginning, I think March, April, I think that was really a difficult time for everyone to be adjusted. First time everyone being asked to work from home and things change. I mean, our daily routine all interrupted, right? So we can't go out and everyone need to stay at home. So, well, I recognize that I think Nurul actually bring out quite a big keywords that the adaptability and how quickly we adapt to the change. I think that that's important. But I mean, I personally for myself, I mean, I'm quite blessed at that time. I have my sister with me, so I have an additional helper in the home to take care of the kids. But I couldn't imagine how my life would be, at that point of time without additional help. Even, I mean, now I can see that we are doing better. I think everyone is you kind of like used to this new norm. And but for sure the challenges is still there. It's just that I think we are now trained or perhaps we are now experienced enough to handle the situation, right? I think the challenges is always there. It's just that we are now more capable in handling the situation. So as is like, I mean, the company or maybe is seeing us that okay, they have the trust in us and how we can control the situation. So I think that's crucial as well. And just now we talk about the D&I. I think the D&I, we have been always emphasizing D&I in the industry. I think in most of industry, we talk about E&I, not only oil and gas, but one thing I think we shouldn't forget as well. I mean, we should also cultivate the same idea or maybe the philosophy in our society and also in our house. I believe that we can do our part to try to make people aware, even our young kids. I'm sure they'll understand what we are talking about, right? So I think through time, I believe all these culture will be adopted or changed over time to a better way. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a little bit about myself and my view. Thanks, Suraj.
Okay, Chunki, thank you for sharing that. I think like you mentioned, you have quite a few female engineers in your department, and I'm sure that over the last year and a half, you've had to talk to them about some of the things they're going through, and I'm sure they would also had kind of reached out to you as and when they needed to, and we'll talk a bit more about that in the Q&A session. Okay, so I have a few questions to ask our panelists, and hopefully, as part of these questions, you'll be able to kind of share a bit more, about what that you've been going through. I'll start with Melissa. Okay, so you just mentioned that you have two small children. Granted, you have a chip small husband. Now you see him, now you don't, or now you don't see him, now you don't see him more. So I mean that can be really tough. I really feel for you there, handling the two small kids. So I just want to know, for example, like within you and your spouse, did you guys like have an agreed roles and responsibilities, when it comes to handling the household? Granted, he may not have, taken his own responsibility, but did you guys talk about a role and responsibility, or did you just say, let's go with the flow, whatever happens, let's handle it as it comes? And like for example, I'm sure that both of you guys are working from home, and let's say you have to take an important call at the same time, so who normally has to give in? Or is there like a roster? Okay, I gave in yesterday, you give in today, or how does that work? In your house.
Very, very interesting question. Because we're talking about roles and responsibility and
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
giving in, right?
right.
So yeah, I think given the fact that I think for us, I think even before we get married, he already mentioned to me that he is someone who wanna be traveling. So
Okay.
he already gave the idea that I'm not gonna be always with you. So I think how I complemented personally is probably I am also someone who is actually have been living independently. So I actually
Uh-huh.
graduated and have been, I accept the challenge to be in Bintulu, which is far away from Kuala
Oh,
Lumpur, I would say, before I get married. And there's, of course, there's no family members in Bintulu. All is actually in West Malaysia. So that, in a way, I would say, so that's why God is great, I would say. So it's already prepping me to that, when you get married, you got this husband eventually. You can't just let people change because of yourself, right? So it's already prepping me to be that independent in a way. But of course, personally, I never expected that I need to go through this situation, the pandemic, without having my husband is actually in Johor during that time.
All right. Okay.
So there's a project going on, and of course, due to your dedication to the work, and also the restriction of movement during when Malaysia enter the first MCO, I would say. So due to that two reason, he definitely cannot come back. So I
Uh-huh.
was like, okay, I'm here with my 4 year, I think 3 year plus girl during that time, and then it was also announced that basically we can't go out. Only one person can go out. So I was like, there is actually no one else next to me. It's just you yourself. So to answer your question,
Exactly.
roles and responsibility and who's giving it, I would say yes. Most of the responsibility eventually sit with myself to make sure that family is safe, the kids is safe. I know that
Mm-hmm.
he would be able to take care of himself when he's anywhere at the project site. So the
Yeah.
family wise basically sit with myself. And then I definitely have to give in because there's no other choice. I do not have a helper in Bintulu, so it's just me and the kids. I send her to basically babysitter, not during the pandemic time. However, when pandemic, of course, you personally have all that. I would say, some discomfort of, putting your child to at someone else places, and eventually my babysitter's family as well is also, her children basically work in oil and gas as well. Of them are actually contractors. So as you know, these essential workers still get to go to the office and they do meet people. So you have all that question in you whether is it safe for you to send it to the babysitter, right? So at the end, I choose to actually I make the decision. Okay, the kids will stay with me,
Mm-hmm.
and work wise, then I would say lucky enough that even though my role do have to go to site, but it's
Yeah.
usually a planned thing. It's not
Okay.
something that come. I'm not looking over production or operation. So at least I can still choose to not be on site. So
Mhm.
that's I would say lucky enough, and my line manager has definitely been very flexible, and the team member I would say play an important role as well during that time to actually help to. I think everyone has chipped in to make things work. But at the end of
Okay.
the day, beside caring for individuals, for the people, we need to also care for the business because we want the business to run. So it's like everyone, try to chip in, different ideas on how to help different individual coping with their own different challenges. So in my
Mm-hmm.
case, like I mentioned just now, I'm on my by myself. So it's like I was actually asking myself, who can go to the grocery or supermarket to actually buy things when I actually don't have anyone. This is the part where I mentioned that
Okay.
it's really a journey for me to start saying not okay, and it's okay to
Right.
say that. You know.
Yes.
So eventually, that time, that's where you actually realize that support system come from every angle. Even
Mm.
suddenly your jiran can be your support system.
Of course.
Even the babysitter family at the end became like, instead of babysitting just the baby, it's like the mother also, right? Helping out how the mother can actually
Yeah.
continue. Yeah, she actually has
Yeah.
been texting me like every single day asking whether both of us are okay or not at home. you
Mm.
know my husband,
Mm.
I think, I know that deep down inside he is worried, but I know he know me quite well as well, that she is indeed an independent lady that will, find a way to actually get through, the challenges that she has to face. He didn't tell me, he always acted cool. That probably because the wife usually get a bit more dramatic or emotional lah, during and if anything ever arise, so he usually remain cool. But I know that he is worried. My dad back in Kuala Lumpur, I think, is already panicking like, how the daughter and the little one. But
Yeah.
I think that is where, like Huda mentioned, is the adaptability. But to me, before you adapt, you actually accept the situation.
True.
So I think that is, for me personally, is the keyword. I actually accept the situation.
Mm.
I am in Bintulu. I am with the little one. I do have a team to lead. I do still have some professional responsibility that I need to actually fulfill. So when I accept the situation, then only I felt calmer. You start to see that there's actually a lot of ways, try to find solutions to each of the things that you see is actually a hurdle, I would say. Like for example, just now about the supermarket, right? At the end, I was like, maybe I should just ask any of my single friends that is actually going out. Can you help me out to buy groceries? But I think this is the beauty of me living in Bintulu. I really want to admit that there is a lot of nice people. They
I'm sure.
actually come and ask instead of
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
so the help actually reaches you. So yeah, I had a few of my guy friends actually go having my long list of supermarket list. So this is the funny part. I would say that you're having a meeting at the same time they are texting you. What is actually the brand that you want? Kind of things. When I think again
Just
about
buy
it,
it. Just buy it. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
there's
Okay.
yeah. So in a way, it became like a sweet memory itself when I actually think it back. Yeah, even
Uh-huh.
though initially you kind of like panic already, right? Because
Yeah.
when the first week when Malaysia announced, government announced that we are going to be in so I'm actually not well
Wow.
because
Okay.
yeah, just a few days before that because in quarter one of 2020,
20.
yeah, basically
Uh-huh.
I actually involved in a side activity. So it's like go to work around 6:30, come back. It's like 12-hour working. So that is already a challenge. So
Right.
I think, came back to my normal working hours a few days before it is announced. So I actually fall sick during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think beras dekat dapur dah tinggal sikit. But I didn't get to go to the supermarket or
Spicy,
prepare
spicy,
anything.
spicy.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so it was like all of a sudden, all the restrictions. So that's why I mentioned that initially it was a bit panic. But
Right.
then, the team, the people there basically who knew, the situation, especially my line manager, I would say. So that's where the help come, and I actually took a week off just to clear myself. Because
Okay.
initially I felt like there is a bit of like anger that you felt like, hey, why your husband is still there working and then just thinking about himself, and you are actually stuck with the kids there. I have to admit there's a bit of you feel
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
not fair, but then
Absolutely. Yeah. You will
but
feel
then when
that.
you
Yeah.
but when you accept the fact and it's not something that he chose,
Yes.
just so
Yes.
things happen. Yeah, so responsibility wise, that's why it's me with the little one. I think even for the little children, I think she kind of like feel why she didn't already go to the babysitter, why
Mm.
she just stay at home. I can see some she didn't know how to express it,
Voice
but
it.
I
Yeah.
can see that she's having that question.
Confused.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why I really realized that it's the mother who has to really control yourself first. See what is it within your own control that you can actually try to work things out. Yeah. After you know that you are the sole responsibility to manage the situation, and of course you felt. I think I because I know my dad is already getting too worried in Kuala Lumpur.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
husband just didn't tell lah, right? And I think I felt responsible to also like provide an assurance to them lah that we are actually okay. We are safe here, even though the situation is as
Managing.
such. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that's how I cope, I would say, with
All
all
right.
the flexibility given by the company itself. Yeah.
Mm.
The
That's
care
good.
factor is really
Yeah.
there. Like, yeah.
That's good. I mean, I think I can speak on behalf of your husband to say that you're always on his mind. He's always concerned about you. So Huda is looking at the sky and all that. Because like you say, it is something totally unexpected that happened.
Yeah.
And, when it first happened, I'm sure all of us were like, in a state of, panic because we don't know how long this is going to happen,
Exactly.
what we can do, what we cannot do, and how contagious it's going to be. What if I get it? There's just so many questions out there, right, that we didn't have answers to. And naturally, you would definitely panic. And very glad to hear that you had people that you could contact and all that to get some help from them. And this kind of leads into my next question. About, I mean, sometimes we feel that we don't want to burden people. We think that, oh, everybody else also has
The
their own issues
discomfort
and
that you
things.
have. Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, so were there many times that you felt reluctant, to reach out to people, and how did you like overcome that to say, hey, look, I need help, and I'm going to reach out. It's okay. I may ask five people, maybe three may say they can't do it, but there'll be two people who say, yeah, okay, they can do it. So did you have to wrestle with yourself to say, hey, I'm going to reach out?
So the support system here with the thanks Rash, I think another interesting, because you always have to overcome yourself before you
Yes.
want to reach out to others, right? So I have to
Yeah.
admit that I have that character of it's not that you feel that you're all good, that you don't need people help, but
True.
you felt like it's okay, you can actually do it yourself. So it's probably like the character in myself as well all this
ah,
while. And then that is actually that character in a way complemented with all the nice people that I have in Bintulu. Like I mentioned just now, they come and offer the help. They
that's
come and
fantastic.
ask.
Okay.
So when that happened, so you felt more comfortable to actually ask, yes,
Okay.
actually I do need the help. Yeah. So that that's why I say it's my own personal journey that I have to change that uncomfortable feeling to it's okay.
Yes,
Everyone
it's
is
okay.
actually facing the same thing. It's just a different challenges each
Yeah.
individual are facing.
Right.
So yes, I initially they come and then I started to also request for the help. Like maybe the
Okay.
second time someone, the lucky one have to help me to go to the supermarket and I was just like hey, I having this thing sort of in short of this item. Can you actually help whenever, you wanted to go out, even for work?
Mm.
Because yeah, I think everyone, I think most of the working mothers or fathers at home, you wanna, actually experience it. You have your, I call it junior colleagues
Yeah.
next to
Okay.
you, right? So I think
Uh-huh.
what happened, I mean, to myself is like my 3.5 years or 4 years already now,
All
who
right.
always want to join me in my call, regardless any call. So I admit that initially it's like I don't feel comfortable with that because you felt like you have someone from your end that is actually interrupting the discussion. But this is why I feel very blessed with my team member and also the people I work in Shell. They
Mm-hmm.
actually like, why don't I spend like 1 minute talking to your child for a while? Just to make she feel like, she is actually she can, talk for a while, and then
Right.
they will just say, hey, okay, uncle have to, talk to your mom. So that's the beauty I think I felt for my own organization. There is a bit of flexibility in terms of the working timing, it doesn't always has to be solid at the time that you already have planned. I think the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, I think it's always about how you and the team would like to deliver what you have to deliver.
Yeah.
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 So I would say that is also a form of support that you actually get throughout the challenges that you're actually facing.
Okay.
So so husband wise, he managed to come back actually. So I also salute him lah in a way. I have to admit that he has to go through certain things when he wanted to come back to Bintulu. Even though after quite I think a few months, 3 months, from Malaysia in MCO. So he had to go through all the swab tests, all the quarantine. I don't have to do all that. So I think I would say it's kind of fair lah. I think everyone, like I mentioned, is every individual in their own space and way is actually
Right.
facing something, and you always know that there's always someone next to you that will eventually be there to help and support, and you can also actually provide the support. So it's like really it's a two-way thing.
Of course.
I would say.
Yeah. 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 And you will also reciprocate,
Hmm,
to all
exactly.
your. I see some comments there. People are saying that the kampong spirit is strong in Sarawak.
I can agree with that lah.
You agree with
Not
that?
not
Huh?
to say Kuala
Yeah.
Lumpur or West Malaysian people are not that kampung spirit, but I personally find it they are a bit more like they welcome the people more fast. I would say lagi cepat, lagi
But really
ramah
warm
lah.
and more, probably more warm as well. I don't
More
know.
warm, yeah,
Sometimes in
exactly.
KL, you don't even know who your neighbor is. You just look through the curtain. Who's your
Yes.
neighbor. But when you're living in a more community, like maybe in Sarawak, a smaller community, I guess the togetherness is stronger sometimes, huh? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so thanks, Melissa, for sharing and all that. I'm sure, most of our viewers, benefited quite a bit from your sharing. You're being labeled a superwoman and, you've gone through really, I mean, you should write a book maybe, start a blog or something on how you cope during this difficult time for you, and very well done to yourself. You should give your pat on the back and you should ask your husband to buy you whatever you ask for.
I will try to see.
Yeah. If he does not, you can complain to Rosman. Okay, I will.
Alright.
Let's move on to Huda now. Okay, just to ask you a couple of questions, and hopefully through that you can share some of the things that you went through and how you coped. But you mentioned, like, let's say, like a single parent to two kids, it can be a real handful, definitely. So I'm sure that when this thing all first started, you would have had to make quite a few adjustments in your routine. Working from home. I mean, definitely how with the kids, they have their own schedule, and they sometimes they dictate the schedule. When they want something, they want something, right? So it's sometimes difficult to say no, and then it'd be a pandemonium at home, I can imagine. And so, like, what kind of adjustments did you have to make to your daily routine, and what about working hours? Did you, like, also have to reach out to your employer to say, look, I'm in this situation, I need to adjust my working hours, and did you have to go make all those adjustments?
Okay. Thanks, Suresh, for the question. Your question is basically all about adjustment, whether it's daily routine
Yes, and I'm
or
sure that it would have been a
or
major
work.
thing in your life.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So just for your info, actually I live here with my parents. So we are a household of six people. So there
Oh,
are
okay.
more adults in the house lah. It's not me
All
alone.
right.
So unlike
Okay.
Melissa, I got my support system ready lah. Due
Mm.
to the single parenting, so that is the thing that I have to balance. Yeah, because I don't have any spouse. So there you go. I go to my nearest one. So there you go, my family is there. So and for working before the pandemic or in KL, because I stay 30 kilometers away from the office, so I spend quite a time traveling back and forth. So on a daily basis, I spend around 3 hours lah on the road basically. So
Wow. So.
that's before the pandemics. So
Mm.
actually, adjustment to the daily routine after the pandemic, I can cut the 3 hours from my traveling time actually, because I woke up and there you go, you're at work already, because there's no separation between work and home because you're working from home. So
Mm.
um WFH means you have no separation, but there you go, you have to make the invisible line clear to you and the one surrounding you. Even my parents, I need to inform them how these things is going to work. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
my kids, I have to inform them this is things is going to work. So communication between all the parties that is primary to me is very important. Even my superior, he's a male. He's very flexible, and one thing,
Uh-huh.
he's not working in Malaysia. He's working
Oh.
overseas lah, slightly over the sea. Okay,
Okay.
and he's overseeing a number of over 100 people over on
I
daily
see.
basis. So everybody this pandemic has to cope with that situation lah. So daily routine for me, the most toughest part was the first 3 months during the pandemic,
Uh-huh.
because the unknown, the uncertainties was there. Even we don't know how long it's going to be like this, right? So every day is a new learning experience for everybody. Okay, you look at number of cases, then you wait for the announcement, and then you talk with your environment. But that's what makes us more closer to each other. Actually, I feel
True.
different from the previous the previous time that we have before the pandemic and after the pandemic is different between the bonding between the team, because we
Mm.
have to be very vigilant and careful about each other and how everybody is doing during this pandemic, so that at the same time, because the business is running, so we
Yeah.
have to juggle between those kan. So the the bonding become stronger lah among me and
Mm.
my team.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
for a fact is I changed work. Actually, I changed department lah
Oh, you
during
did.
the
Okay.
pandemic as well. So
Okay.
the routine definitely has changed for me, but is a good one lah, I believe, because you allow yourself to learn lah. Meaning to learn to make mistake ah. So don't be too hard
Yes.
for myself and for my team. Just allow a reasonable time to make mistake, but then we learn fast together. Okay, we do the post-mortem thingy so that everybody could benefit from it lah. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
And in terms of working hour, uh the in Petronas, before the pandemic, we have already adapting to the flexible working hour, so it goes along the line during the pandemic. So in terms of balancing the 8 hours, so during the pandemic, it's not really that 8 hours that matters, it's the
Yeah.
deliverables or the output is matters. So that
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
where we do the balancing act lah. As long as we can deliver the outcome that is desired from for the department, so that's
Mm.
it. The hours
Right.
is hours lah, but
Yes.
we just need to be honest with that lah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fulfill the normal working hours, but then in between, of course, there's always, because you're working from home, right? So
True.
that's the kids calling, the online classes you have no, but you have to make yourself flexible enough to do that lah. uh that is basically my take lah on the adjustment.
Yeah, okay. No, you're right. I mean, when you're taking calls and all that, you got a kid sometimes comes and say, mak nak ni, nak nu, nak ni, Sometimes the kucing also maybe, running around here and there. And it's very funny sometimes that when we're taking calls and then the mother will say, bukan sekarang sayang. I say, talking to me or who are you talking to?
Yes, yes.
So we all get used to video calls and stuff like that. Like you mentioned, end of the day is the product that you deliver, right?
Yep.
I mean, as long as the results are met and all that. And I think even where I was working, we found that there was no real big problem in terms of meeting targets and all that. And people just rallied together and things got done. And yeah, granted, you need to make some changes to your work hours. Fine, and sometimes you say, okay, I need to take a day, half the day off in the afternoon. But then you kind of get onto the email maybe an hour or so before you go to bed, to just make up. If something is urgent enough, you do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So looks like you maybe you were living with your parents, and that in a way maybe lessened the burden a little bit. They were there to
Yep.
kind of help you out with the kids and all that. But I'm sure still, I mean, there comes a time where you get stressed out. Okay, we all get stressed out, like like you wanna do something. Look, it's too much. There's too many things happening. It's too much. So I mean, like, so, what are some of the things that you do for yourself to de-stress? Like, did you install a punching bag in your house and you kick and or you go to the rooftop and scream? I mean, what are some of the coping mechanism of stress that you did over the period that helped you?
I wish I have that in in my house,
Oh,
but
okay,
I
that's
don't.
good.
I'm not that really
A
physical, but
TV, or did you like binge watch? I'm going to watch whatever. I'm going to watch this series for 8 seasons one go.
okay. And about the kids, but because I live with my parents, so
Right.
the apa the duty of taking care of the child is rotated lah.
Ah,
Along
okay,
the households. Okay, so everybody have a fair share actually there, and of course with their dad, they have some time out with their dad as well. So that
okay,
is one of the
I
time that
understand.
I have my me time. Okay, when the
Okay.
kids are not around. So yeah,
Mm-mm,
I'm single.
mm.
So I enjoy it the most lah during that time. And
Okay.
my my outlet
So what
for
do you
the
do in your me time? What do you do?
yeah, the outlet during my me time, what do? I don't punch people. I don't punch punching bag. But
Okay.
I'm more on the creative side lah.
All
Being in
right.
this pandemic as well. Because there are a lot of social media or like TikTok, like Instagram reels and whatnot. So there are a lot of sharings on the videography and photography, and so I'm more drawn to the video making.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay. All
yeah.
right.
I do
Okay.
enjoy that the most because in TikTok you can see it's not about dancing only, yeah. Uh, there are a lot of tutorials that teach you how to do this kind of video
Uh-huh.
and whatnot. So yeah, I venture more into that path lah, into the video making,
Okay.
also
All
the
right.
photography lah per se. Yeah, and the other stuff that I do actually is quite normal lah for it. But I do some of gardening lah. And
Okay.
one of the biggest achievement that I think I, I achieved in gardening is when I can propagate my own plants. That
Ah,
gives me such a comfort, level of achievement lah.
so you
Uh,
got green fingers, then they say you got green fingers that whatever you plant is, growing properly. So what were some of the vegetables or fruits that you grew?
I don't grow vegetables or fruits, but then
Oh
more of
no,
the
flowers.
decorative decoration plants lah.
Ah, I see.
Succulents, and then the some decorative plants. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. So I mean, so looks like you took up some videography and photography and all that. So like this photography, did you like go out, or you was taking photos of people in the house, and what kind of photographs that
Okay,
interest
on
you?
the videography thingy, it's just the normal routine that you do, but then make it a very interactive one lah.
I
The
see.
one with
Okay.
transitions and whatnot, and when we go out, at least and take some random
Photos.
footage of all and
Okay.
combine it. It is about
All right.
the creativity comes with it is when you make it a end product, when you combine
Ah,
all those actually. Yep.
okay. Okay. So that's good. So I mean, at least you develop a skill, during
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic. Yeah, and I think many of us also probably did that. You find something, that say, hey, what can I do as a hobby or something? Take up a musical instrument. And I got a couple of friends who started playing the guitar and all that. And I mean, they sound terrible, but at least they they made the effort and find out that hey, this is something that I like. So they've decided to carry on with the lessons, and over time you get good at it. So it's something that many of us would have found during this pandemic. Like my wife, for example, she didn't like cooking. Not that so I tell her you're not a bad cook, you just don't know how to cook.
Then
So
got
during the
her a
pandemic,
Thermomix then.
so during the pandemic, she kind of took up, cooking simple things, and she found out that she liked it. The only condition is she wants me out of the kitchen because whenever I try to do something, the washing up takes 2 hours versus the cooking. So it's like a tornado went through the kitchen. So, but so she took up cooking and she enjoyed it, and now she's interested to try new things. So I think it's safe to say that many of us did discover some hidden talents that we we didn't know that we had, as we tried to take up something new. All right, thanks for that, Huda. Thanks for sharing. Okay, now we come to our sole male participant of the webinar of the session, and I'm sure Chunki is just raring to go to defend the guys, huh? Counting on you, man. All right. Okay, so you mentioned earlier, Twinkie, that you have a few, lady engineers that work in your group, and I think one thing that many of us did during the pandemic. All groups we kind of had, what we call a checkpoint. We have a morning meeting either every day or every other day, just for 5-10 minutes. Just to say, hey, how's everyone? Have you woken up or things like that? Just to check into each other. And so, like in your case, you know, uh, did you like have those sessions, with especially your female engineers whom have got children in the house and all that? And were there such sessions that you checked up on them? And typically, what are some of the questions that you ask them to make sure they're okay? And did you find that they were willing to speak up and open up with some of the problems they were having, and seek some advice from yourself?
All right, thanks, Suresh. So from my personal opinion, okay, the experience is that we have this weekly meeting, right? So it's rather a formal platform for everyone to speak up, to share. But
Okay.
what I found out is that actually the feedback or maybe the sharing during the formal session, I would say is a little bit constrained. Perhaps people is not so willing to open up in front of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
in front of
yeah.
everyone, right? I mean, people
Okay.
tends to show that they are good. Like Melissa said, actually, it's okay to say you are not okay, you know. But I
Mhm.
mean, as a professional, I think we like to look good, right, in front of everyone. So
Yeah,
perhaps there is
some
some
people
pride, yeah, that we have in ourselves. But nevertheless, I mean, what I did, actually, to be honest, the first 2 months or so, me myself was scrambling, right, between
really,
the
I'm
work
sure.
and my
Yeah,
family. So I was
yeah.
scrambling. I try to adjust myself as well. Especially the working duration is going a bit haywire. Actually, to be honest, maybe
Mm-hmm.
we can talk a bit more later on. But what I did later, actually, I start to make calls to my colleague,
All
right?
right. One on one, huh? One
So
on one.
yeah, not only just the female, but the male colleague. I try to call them, right? Maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. Or sometimes if I'm really so busy, or maybe I just don't want to disturb them too much, I will just forward some of these message via WhatsApp. And
Okay.
actually it works. You know, when it's on one, people willing to talk more,
Of
we
course.
can go a bit
Yeah.
deeper,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, still, I mean, the barrier is still there, despite, I mean, we have been working as a team for quite a long period of time. Some of
All
them,
right.
I know them more than 10 years, right? But
Oh, really?
still,
Okay.
yeah. So what I did was I take the initiative to share my personal experience,
All
whether a good
right.
one or the bad one, right? So I
Yes.
try to share, okay, what I have gone through the past few days, my good experience or the bad experience, or maybe what are the small little thing that I learned, right? Like
Mm.
Huda mentioned, or TikTok. So I did that. So I try to share things, a small little thing about myself, but in actually, this is a very good approach by influencing the other person, whoever that listening, to
Yeah.
open up their mind, to share their experience. So I found is a good tool, and in fact until today I'm still doing that, right?
Okay.
So
Good.
yeah, so it actually resolved not only the I mean the non-technical stuff, but actually I get to know a bit more about themselves
All right.
and
That's
what are the
great.
challenges that they are facing,
Yeah.
and just for, I mean, some time, what we share, I mean, the question that we talk about is as simple as how you actually handle your kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How you actually control them, or how you manage their screen time. I mean, the parents are exchanging informations, trying to get some solution. Maybe seems like that her solution
Works.
could be better. Maybe why
Yeah.
not I try that? I
Mm.
mean, it's always try and error. I mean, in our daily life, right?
Right.
There's
Yeah.
no definite answer. We just
Yeah.
need
And
to
it's
reach out to
different
more.
for different people, right? I mean, some may work with your kids. You may not work with somebody else's kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then not only that, I mean, the conversation can be so casual about kids, about the grocery, what are the brand is cheaper or maybe better. It become part of our conversations, even now, right? Time to time, we still talk about, like, I think in few days time it will be a 10/10 Shopee
Sale,
sales.
huh? That'd be a sale.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
people will tell me, oh, this item is cheap. Maybe good. You should look into that. Got this voucher and that voucher, and the bonding become closer. In
Of
the
course.
past, the
Yeah.
conversation or the bonding is always about work, but now due to this pandemic, I would say that actually it brings some negative impact, but nevertheless, on the other side, there are some other positive impact as well to our
Sure.
life,
Yeah.
the relationship, the bonding with the people, not only your team, but your other extended colleague. You get to know them a little bit more closer. So that
Right.
that are some of the things that I found that is actually positive to me, and is like I think just now Huda or Melissa mentioned is actually when you think back, yeah, we scramble for a while, but when you look back, actually, it's part of our life, and
Oh,
some of I mean, it's a sweet memory as well. So
yeah,
always
like Melissa mentioned, some sweet memories.
correct, correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
True. Okay. All right. All right. Thanks, Shunki. That's great sharing over there. I think, like personally, like you say, in times of crisis, you sometimes see the true person.
Yeah, that's true.
How they actually are. And many times you find out, hey, this guy, although he looks always like stressed and all that, but comes crisis, they're pretty cool. They're good handling, being in a crisis situation, level-headed, and you, like you say, you learn a lot about a person, when in times of crisis. Okay. All right. So let's just do a quick time check here. How are you doing, Bella?
I think you have about 10 more minutes.
All right, great. Okay, so Shunki, my next question actually relates to, hours that we tend to spend, during working from home. There's this term that they say that sometimes your managers expect you to be always on. Like they may send you emails at a certain time, and sometimes you wonder, hey, it's 10 p.m. Am I supposed to respond to this email now? My boss sent me. I know he's got nothing to do. He's very free. He just keeps on shooting emails everywhere. And so, do you feel that during this working from home period, you felt that you were working longer hours, and were you felt pressure to do it? Did you kind of reach out to your manager? And what about your kids and your spouse at home saying, hey, why is daddy working all the time? What is this? He's always on his phone, boom, 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 even before the pandemic, he seemed to be more free. Now he's always working. Did you have to handle that in your household from your other three ladies that live with you?
Yeah, in fact, this is a key challenges that I face as well. I mean, let me talk a bit about the always green thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if I recall correctly, back in 2019, the company attempt to launch this flexi hour or work from home
Okay.
practice. At that point of time, it was like a pilot test.
Ah.
So yeah, so I have a colleague that subscribe to that. The two of them, they are the mothers. They are the mother at home, so they are working mother. So at that point in time, I'm really skeptical on whether or not this work from home will really pan out, because
All right.
in our office we need to deliver whatever the objective that we have set, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's important. So I was really skeptical. I mean, I'm perhaps one of the manager that maybe this may not be a really good idea, but few months time in March, I mean, we had no choice but to start work from home.
Right.
So at that
Right.
point of time, I mean, I really hold to the working duration or the hours. So I still
Okay.
make sure that I log on at 7 and I will log off at 5,
Okay.
and I will perhaps time to time I will do a time check. I will check, oh, by now it's already 8 o'clock. Is
Hmm.
all the team member now turn green? So
Ah.
I'm that type of person at the moment. I mean, at that time, I mean, just to let you know, just being frank, I mean, nothing to hide. I'm a little skeptical. I'm worried that we can't, we don't work, or we couldn't achieve the objective that the company wants us to deliver. So, but through time, I mean, I start to realize that, it's a level of trust or the communications. That's why when I started the one-on-one conversation, actually it resolved a lot of question mark I have in my mind. Just being very honest. I mean, the level of trust, the people. I mean, if you want the staff to perform, first of all, I think you just need to trust your staff. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
we have all these KPI, but I mean, look, I mean, what is more important is the end product. So
Correct.
so that's one of the key. So I try to learn and try to start to adapt. But talking about the working duration, certainly I receive a lot of complaints during that
Mm.
that time, because being myself, I mean, at that point of time, if you all recall, the oil price crashed to nearly negative, right? So
Yeah.
everyone was scrambling, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, the company looked into how to preserve the cash, how to. So there are so many things I need to do, and I was being tasked to handle the entire company's technical input for to
Right.
look at cash flow, the project, what are the
Yeah.
impacts. So that's what very big task given to me at that point in time. So my working hours, I just being frank, I start from nearly 6:30 in the morning and I work until 11, 12
Wow.
for nearly 3 months. I never stopped working. So I constantly receive feedback from my wife saying that you seems like you haven't moved from the table since yesterday. But in fact, I
Did
told
you
her
have a shower?
I certainly I have my shower. It's just that
Okay.
the amount of objective or the KPI that given to me was huge. So
Yeah.
I just need more time to crunch to crunch and to provide the solution to the company.
Right.
So
Right.
so
It's extraordinary circumstances, right?
yes, correct, correct.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's to myself. I mean, there's no limit to it. Seems like I can work like 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week. And until I still remember last year, until Repsol in Madrid, they launched a program called Disconnect. Then only
Ah.
I start to realize that, hey, how important is all this disconnect about? And they
Mm.
actually make a video to us, and only then I start to realize, despite how many complaints I receive from my wife, I never
Mm.
even I tell her this is my work, it's important, I just need to deliver, But
Product.
when companies start to launch the program, actually make me realize that, hey, come on, you need to put a stop, or maybe you need to be realized how can you be better in managing your durations, right?
Mm, 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 mm.
So these are some of the things that I learned as well. I mean, in the beginning, there's no time limit for myself, but through time, I learned how to manage the hours.
And it's your time, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Whereas, like you say, like I mean, the managers will send emails 10 p.m., sometimes 12 a.m. Whenever they like, you will receive email, right? So
Yeah.
those are the things that I start to realize and also practice. I mean, being a manager also, I try to honor or respect the hours. So try not to go beyond hours in when I schedule meeting. So if
Mm.
but the team also being really very helpful. I mean, they also respect, they understand that when time is needed, then they will work extra hours. But when it's not needed, everyone go
Yeah. That's
take their
right.
break.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
then
right.
apart from managing, I think I like the just now I mean Melissa was saying, or Huda, I don't quite remember, about the junior colleague. I think it's from Huda. She mentioned about the junior colleague. And I can tell you now, my daughter, two of them,
Mm.
they know exactly who are my team member. They know each of their name, my line manager, and most importantly, they even know my country manager's name. Because I have
Oh,
meeting with them, so they will call me, I will spell their name. So now they know all my colleagues' name.
wow, that's
So
great.
yeah, so these are the small little thing that I mean, if we are in the office, definitely this won't happen, right?
True. Yeah.
And to be honest, time to time, I also allow my daughter to talk to them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Maybe she got better answers than you.
yeah, so I will send message. They last actually this early this year, I have one colleague that he has to go through some surgery,
Oh, okay.
and my daughter somehow he pick up from my conversation that I have these colleagues that are going through surgery, so she's a bit little concerned over him.
Mm.
So she said, "Can I call him?" So I said, "Yeah."
Wow.
So this is unusual to me, This is unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids, you don't know what they listen to, and how they're going to respond. Actually, they surprise you a lot of the times.
That's right.
By what
That's right.
they say.
That's
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
I mean, I think this work from home thing actually I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone do, but it's just that from now onwards, I mean, we are going back to office, or everything is going to be resumed very soon. So that's
Hmm.
another change in our life very soon, right?
Yeah.
A month
True.
or 2 months time. So perhaps I think we need to be aware what are the limits, what are the things that we have learned in the past a year and a half or 2 years. So perhaps
Mm.
we can adopt to embrace in the changes that coming up for us.
course. Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Yeah.
Suresh,
Like
shall
I
we
found,
spare another
sorry,
5 minutes for Q&A?
you wanna get the questions on the chat or what?
Yeah,
All
because
right,
we
sure.
are almost time's up. Okay, there's one
Ah,
questions from Janice.
okay.
Um, I guess this is for Melissa. Can you share what enabled you to speak up or ask for help?
Interesting.
Desperation? No.
What enabled me to speak up? I think it's something that I think it's my choice. It's a
Ah,
choice that
because you
I
accepted it after you accepted the situation.
exactly. So accept
Yeah.
the situation, and then I think I reached a level where um I'm gonna say it out and let's see what comes after that. You know, if it's come in a positive angle, then of course you're lucky. If it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
I will still not take it as negative because it's actually something that you will learn how to actually either respond back or maybe find other way of communication, because sometimes it's just a matter of how you communicate, how you ask, right?
Yeah.
So I have to admit that sometimes at the very beginning, I'm not really like a very loud person in the organization as well. I learn it through time as well.
Of
But
course.
when you know that maybe you need to grow, you want to grow yourself,
Mm-hmm.
regardless whether personally or professionally, then that's why I say I choose to just say it, put it on the table. This is the reality basically. So I actually experienced both positive and negative kind of responses. So it
Okay.
made me to actually also think like, oh, how can I do it differently after this?
Yeah.
Or maybe think like why actually that individual responded as such, because not everyone can understand everyone's shoes. So it's
Correct.
also
And they
my
have their own things that they're going through, right?
exactly. So,
Yeah.
because I do have a team, working with me as well. So I also have to actually learn how to listen to them. Like what Chunki mentioned just now. You have that one-to-one conversation. It's a bit informal. How you want to let them to also speak up. So of course you have to choose to speak up first. Then only you will see the other team members start opening up. Then you realize we are just more or less in the same boat. And then
All the same.
yeah,
We're all the same. Absolutely.
it's a
That's
choice.
right.
It's a choice you make, like I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
matter what,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
All right. What else do we have, Bella? Anything
All right.
interesting?
Probably this is for Huda from Shamini. I'm guilty of putting kids in front of the TV a lot, just to get answer calls or cook their meals. How do you keep kids entertained, or do you limit screen time?
Okay, there's no. I'm afraid to answer this one because okay, there's
Don't
two
worry, your
type of
kids are not
parents.
listening.
There are two types of parents. One is the one that really follow the book type, and the other one is not. Can so for me, me personally, I'm not following the book type lah.
Okay.
That's the first thing. So about the screen time, the answer is I don't have limit on the screen time per se, but then um I filter what the contents are lah that they can see. Because by watching it, actually for me, I think they learn a lot from it actually. But then I just need to curate the content lah. So that what they will watch is something that it can be useful lah. Is the mix of choice of the entertainment plus the education stuff lah in it actually.
Hmm.
So that's my personal lah. It may not be the right fit for everybody, but I don't limit. But I don't give gadget. If they want to watch from the TV lah, but not gadget giving to them fully. No like that.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
that's my take on
Like
that question. Yeah.
yeah, I had a friend who asked the same question. How do you limit your kids' screen time? So what do you mean? They limit my screen time.
Yeah, if you're having sharing
Exactly.
TV, that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks.
Yep.
So
All right,
Bella.
maybe the last one. I mean, just trying to be fair to Chunki. All right. There's something that captured my attention. From Hasina, bosses work longer hours because having to accommodate people working normal hours and those working at night. So maybe Chunki, just probably you can share your experience. How do Repsol business cater this kind of ecosystem?
You mean to say like because some people work at night, that's why the bosses work at night? Bella, is that
Well,
what the
Yeah,
question is?
yeah, bosses work longer hours. Yep, true.
Huh?
well,
Do they though?
I okay. So when I think the myth of bosses working longer, I mean, at the end of the day, the bosses is also a reporting staff to the company. So just need to make everyone aware about that, right? The
Yeah.
bosses is not a Superman. So he is also another
He reports to
human
someone,
or
right? He also
yeah,
has to
a
report to
person that
someone.
working. But sometimes
Yeah.
due to the job requirement, yeah, I do recognize that sometimes the managers are being required to go extra miles. So that's normal. But I mean, to juggle between the durations, that's why I say, I mean, I mentioned, sometimes you need to be aware how to strike a balance between your career versus your family. I mean, in the past, all right, I mean, we even back in the office before the pandemic, I thought that I'm in a perfect condition of work-life balance, but actually, I only realized that I'm not. I spend a little bit longer time in the office, even after I close my laptop. My mind is still thinking about the office stuff, right? So it's unfair to say that we spend time chit-chatting with kids, but some of the time, I mean, from the pandemic, what I realized that I just need to be cautious. Some check and balance thing I need to do. So some checkpoints that I have. So for myself, what I normally do, I will restrict myself to a certain hour, or perhaps I will spend time with my kids when they have tuition. I will just need sit to next to them after the office hour, so at least to go through and understand what they have gone through the whole day. Through all this, through the sharing. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, thanks, Chunki. All right, Suresh,
Okay.
your final words before we wrap up your moderated session.
Okay, so final words. Thank you all of you all for that fabulous sharing. I think, the more we hear everyone share their experiences, the more we say, hey, we are not that different after all. We all are going through similar things, maybe different degree of difficulty. Maybe some of us have a bit more support than the others. But, I think we find out that, hey, we've many of us have come out of this pandemic stronger. Many of us have learned more about ourselves, and also learn more about our colleagues, things that we didn't know. And granted, there are a lot of negatives to this pandemic, but I personally like to think as well that many of us have seen a lot of positives and grown stronger over the period, and just willing to face things that will be coming our way, challenges that will be coming our way, by learning and becoming more well equipped because of the things that we went through during the pandemic. And hearing, Melissa, Huda, and Chunki all, very much juniors compared to me, and I'm saying, hey, even though they are very young, but we are looking at the same things, we're going through the same things. And the sharing was fantastic. I'm sure the audience gained a lot of knowledge and pointers from you guys. And I hope that we do have things like this again in the future. Maybe after the pandemic is over, how are things now? You know, so we'll see. Okay, so thank you everyone for your cooperation and your fine answers and candid responses to the questions. I enjoyed it. Thanks. Bella.
All right, thank you, Suresh and all speakers. We have come to the final event for the day. So before we adjourn, I'm pleased to invite Yan Li, a council member of MGA, for closing remarks.
Thank you, Bella. So this has been a really interesting dialogue. So many insightful nuggets. I couldn't resist but take too many notes. But anyway, I wish to thank the MyWiE for organizing and getting us together. Doing it virtually is never easy. I also want to thank Suresh for creating an enlightening sharing environment. and the amazing line of speakers, Melissa, Nurul Huda, Chunki, from your diverse background, and for sharing your experiences in the safe space. And you're actually well done. Well done for thriving during the pandemic. I continue to take pride in MyWiE's vision, which is to attract and retain women in technical roles, promote an inclusive culture, and increase women leaders, actually. For a long time, I think, we have moved away from our grandmother's time where most women play the role supporting the family from home and were really underrepresented in the male dominated energy industry. And actually, it is very refreshing today to see more and more women taking on active roles in the industry because we actually bring innovation, different perspective, and ideas to problem solving. The higher female participation rate means the higher or the larger the talent pool is in the industry. So, which means we're actually growing the future of the workforce, equipping them with appropriate skill set. But as we heard today, we can never disengage ourselves from our natural roles as a wife, mother, daughter. We hear the phrase work life balance a lot, but I've learned personally work life integration is much easier. More so now when we're working from home, because mentally, I am not constantly juggling work and life as though they're two discrete goals. So just let me summarize a few key takeaways from this dialogue today. What I heard was finding the courage from within ourselves to ask for help, to reach out to the people around you. The people around you is your natural support network. And there is no shame in saying, I am not okay. I need help. To thrive in these challenging times, I also heard being resilient, being adaptable, adjustable, and staying connected really helps. Me time, having your own me time definitely is good for your own well being and mental health. And it actually pays you going forward. The other bit was keeping the conversation real, keeping the connection with your teams real. Include the kids, include the shopping list discussion. So those are really insightful nuggets. The business actually will continue and has continued. KPIs, I believe, for all your companies have been met. Deliverables are being delivered. And I recall an advice that was given to me a long time ago. Care for your staff and their family, and your staff will take care of the business for you. Lastly, I want to say have a sense of humor. Humor always helps, right? So don't sweat the small stuff. Actually, let it go. Focus on the big rocks and have a lot of joy in doing that and have some sense of humor. Lastly, you are not alone in this. We are all in this together. The support network, as you all have described, is really important. Well done to everybody who's thrived through this pandemic period. With that, I want to thank you for attending the webinar. Take care, everybody, and stay safe. Bella?
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Andy. All right. We have seen how the pandemic and its associated lockdowns have seriously disrupted economic activity based on our discussion today. But what matters most is about building the resilience in each of us, because each of us faces challenges and unexpected events in our life. So some are invigorating, some are devastating. So the key is how well we can cope with life surprises. Resilience is our capacity to adjust to changes and challenges in our life, as well as to spring back emotionally after dealing with a difficult and stressful time. So we are facing the same storms, but probably in different words. It's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to reach out. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps out our event for today. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you all for making time in your busy schedule. It's been our pleasure to host this event, and I wish you all a pleasant day. Don't forget to fill out the feedback form. Till then, take care and stay safe.